And what's going on, everybody? Greg Dog, G, non-attorney pro se consultants. I say first and foremost, let me get this out of the way. I'm not an attorney. I'm licensed to practice law. I do not practice law. What I do is study law, tell people how to learn how to gather the information. I don't give information as advice to apply to your specific case, but it's general information regarding the law and lawful principles, by the way, belong to the people. So please use any information obtained for educational edification only. And the reason I say that is because I want nothing I say to be construed to be legal advice. If you feel you need legal advice, I would highly encourage you to hire a licensed and hopefully competent attorney and be legally advised. And with that being said, as always, what's good, people? Here we go. I had to get the screen back to us. Okay, so hopefully you all heard my introduction. This is kind of like a new thing, this What's Up Fam. From the lovely city of Tampa, the greatest the greatest city in the world sometimes, and sometimes not. A lot of things have come up, and we've discussed things or I've discussed things from time to time that involve, well, what I'll say is my journey. And my journey has been pretty interesting. And I wanted to go over a couple of things, namely, kind of like how I got to where I am when it comes to self representation and what have you. And one of the things that I wanted to tell people is I had a unique journey in this area, but I want to get to what has seemed to be a topic that I just can't seem to get away from, which is the topic of well, child support is talked about quite a bit, but I wanted to tell people that my issues are not they don't involve child support for the most part. That's not the issue that I have as many issues as I have, or the reason I have as many issues as I have in Hillsborough County, Florida. My issues stem from a engagement, so to speak, with Greg Holder, who I'm going to try to refrain from saying any curse words. I know we're in the middle of the day, and I don't want any kids to pick up any of Greg's bad habits. But this guy has been the number one reason why I have issues, even getting judges in any cases to do the right thing. So this is I'm learning how to use this thing here. Let's see, how does this go? I'm trying to figure out why I can't see a window. Here we go. This guy here. So as you see, Greg Holder, uh, this is a case involving a former Green Beret who had felonies, and Greg Holder was the judge at the time over this guy. And this is the same judge who, for some reason, when I tried to um, get the Florida JQC to investigate him, he wouldn't step in and do anything. They wouldn't step in and do anything about this guy. But this is the guy right here. And Holder did some things to try to help this guy out. And I could have appreciated him helping out the veteran. That's not a problem. This is the guy right here. This is the judge right here. I could have appreciated what he tried to do as far as helping the veteran, but this veteran was charged with felonies. He essentially walked into a convenience store, urinated on the floor, then took his weapon out, fired his weapon up into the air, and went away telling the um, clerk that he didn't like their kind of people. So, at any rate, interesting enough, this guy did avoid prison time because Holder has a veterans treatment court, and it's a court for people specialized for people with mental health and substance abuse issues related to their military service. And the judge lobbied hard for him, lobbied hard to get him readmitted to the University of South Florida, and advocated against a formal finding of guilt on his record. Now, this is what's crazy. This is the same judge now that you're going to find out went above and beyond to try to get me put into prison for something I did not do. And he did it at the same time that he was calling the, I don't know what's wrong with my camera, at the same time that he was presiding over a, well, he was presiding over the foreclosure case at the time that we had our issue. the Second District Court of Appeals had the case. So anyway, just look at this article here. So he gets reprimanded by the court, and this is the formal finding from the Florida Supreme Court. And interestingly enough, when I was looking through or trying to get discovery in my criminal case, and I was asking for any negative information about Greg Holder that the state may have had, they claimed they had none. But I actually happened to find this stuff, which it didn't get that far during the criminal proceedings. So let's get through that and get to the bigger, more important thing. I own properties in Hillsborough County, and at the time, you can see my name here. I used to own this property, and hopefully YouTube doesn't strike it, but this is me, so they shouldn't strike it. This property now is worth probably about $600,000. So I own this property, and I got the property through this process where the clerk sold David Acevedo properties. And for people who don't know, homeowners associations can foreclose on your property when you don't pay assessments. And a lot of people say they'll never live in an HOA for a lot of other reasons. One thing is, even if you own the property, if you don't pay your assessments, the HOA can foreclose and take your property. They did this on several occasions and took properties, and Dave Acevedo ended up buying the properties, as you can see, through these certificates of title that the clerk gave him. See the certificate of sale right here and certificate of title, and it went through 4 different properties. And again, you can get all this information anytime you want to. Hopefully I'll get Dave on one day and he'll break down how his process worked for him to find these properties. Essentially, Dave hit a lick. He hit a lick and got properties that ended up today, the value of these properties is well over $1 million. And you'll see, as you see, this is kind of how it started. So I had 4 properties, and I could say I'm going to slide through this. Here's where the problem came up. Once I got the properties, I started fighting for the properties. And when I started fighting for the properties, judges in the various courtrooms started taking unique postures. And at the time, I wasn't as, savvy with a lot of this as I have become over time, because I kind of immersed myself in it because of what was going on. But you can see clearly right here, it says during the month of February 2017, he's contacted by Greg Holder as a civil case in his courtroom regarding a pending bankruptcy hearing involving suspect Doss. Didn't know I was a suspect at all, and I didn't have a foreclosure. He related the suspect, filed sworn documents with the clerk of the court advising he was indigent and did not own any property. Never did that. Never. And if you take the time to go watch any of my city council hearings, you're going to hear me say to them, none of that ever happened. None of this. So anyway, he said Holder believing that a fraud was being committed. And by the way, for anybody out there, I didn't know judges even did these kind of things. Judges typically aren't supposed to look at anything until it's properly before them. This judge did do this thing. And this is the buildup. It's showing you all what the case with me and my issues are really about. And here's the specific date, February 9th, 2017. He was contacted by Holder. And this is this guy's police report. You're going to find out now this police officer. Now, Hillsborough County is the county that Tampa, Florida sits in, and the sheriff runs the courthouse. So it would stand to reason that if a judge in Hillsborough County thought he saw something strange, he wouldn't have contacted the mayor's head of security. That's who Mike Victor is. He's the mayor of Tampa at the time, Bob Buckhorn. Actually, he's still the head of security for the mayor. The head of security. He didn't call a bailiff. He didn't call a state attorney. He called this, as I called him in front of the city council meeting, a henchman, to create this ruse of an investigation or what have you. And he said he did this computer search. Now, here's what's going to be crazy. As they're saying that I owned the properties, he said he conducted a computer search, and in fact, know that currently owned a house located at 517 in Brandon. I actually owned other properties, but he said I owned the house. Now, what's crazy is I acquired all the properties the same way. Dave gave me the properties, or he sold me the properties through quit claim deeds. He was the owner, as you can see. So I owned all these properties. What's interesting is I don't own them now, and I've never been to court. They essentially just erased me from the public record with the property. As I started fighting more, people started acting funny, and they're still acting funny to this day. What I would contend to, and by the way, any of this information you all can have, is that they were taking other people's properties as well. Now, here's where the interesting thing came up. Now, when I filed my federal lawsuit after I won this case, and you're going to see as I show you some of the exhibits, I didn't know about the numerous emails that existed at the time where they had been having a bunch of communication. So I did ask for discovery. This is in my civil case that I filed the federal lawsuit seeking damages. Now, what you're going to see is right here. This is from Mike Victor to John Darby, who was a sheriff. I sued the sheriff, the city of Tampa, and you're going to see another name pretty soon. But anyway, he said, "Can you check with the tenant at the below listed address to see who they pay rent to?" This is the craziest stuff in the world. Look at this. I knew none of the stuff that they were calling me at the time. And, I'll just say that I think sometimes they use certain words to describe melanated people who don't, I guess, act as they think they should act. But we all know that there's nothing about me that would fall into that category. And if you remember Jeff Sessions and at the time, Congressperson Bass, who's now the mayor of I think it's Los Angeles, California, she said a sovereign citizen is typically a white person, some belongs to a group that typically target policemen. That I don't even fall into that category. Honorably discharged, service connected, disabled American veteran is who I am. This guy right here, this MF right here. And if you all are around on Tuesday at about 9:30, you're gonna hear me talk about this guy right here. This dude, William Shepard. I went to the Hillsborough County property appraisers building. Office in downtown Tampa. In fact, if you look in the backdrop, the little pink building off to the left right here, that's where he works. Anyway, they told me he retired. Come to find out, he's still working there. He was dodging me because I wanted to go see this MF about my goddamn properties and this stuff he was talking about me. So here we go. Look at it. And here's what he says. Mike, talking to Mike Victor, we have files for about 5 properties that were at one point in Mr. Dawson's name. Would you like to come by and look at them and we can explain them better? I don't even know. 5 properties. Well, I did own 5 at one time. One I understood why I lost. That was a quit claim in I can't think of the area, but not related to how I got these other properties. So at any rate, he said, "Awesome, thank you. This is Mike, and this is Mike Victor, Tampa Police Corporal." Now, by the way, this guy, keep in mind, is the mayor's head of security. Why is the mayor of Tampa's security head being involved in this kind of investigation? He could have left it to the sheriff if there was really anything there, but we're going to get to that a little bit more. So, and here's some more of it. Mike, I can get you listed the other properties he held for a short time. Here we go. Theoretically, I guess he would have had to own the property on the date he made the allegation that he didn't own any property. Again, I never said I didn't own any property. The question was, do you have any assets? And we all know that a property encumbered by a lien is not an asset. But let's keep going here. I'll check the other property deeds, and although I believe many of the deeds we did not post show the property in his name, which you're going to find out is a lie. In fact, I've already shown it to you when you saw my name on the other one, because we doubted he legally owned the property in spite of the deed. What kind of shit is that? So if any of you out there own properties, they're going to say, we don't care if you have a deed for the property. We don't care how you claim you own the property. The county of Hillsborough is going to say, we don't care what you say. We're going to say you don't own the property, so we're not going to post it because we don't think you own it legally, despite the fact that you're going to be in the chain of custody. And I can probably show you all that in a second. Let me pull up this chain of custody real quick on another page. Chain of custody. Yeah, here we go. Let me try this real quick. So real quick, I don't need that. So here's the chain of custody. Let me, how we do this stuff for the view. So he's saying that I don't own this. And this is from the Hillsborough County tax records for one of the properties. The same thing existed for all the properties that I owned at the time. But here's the Hillsborough County chain of custody for the property. You see at the bottom, Spinnaker Townhomes is the subdivision that the property existed in. And they essentially sold it to Bay Point Investment Corporation. And Bay Point Investment sold it back to Spinnaker, as you see here. Then Spinnaker back to Bay Point. I guess that's through the construction point. And then Bay Point gave it to Rotland Home Mortgage at the time they existed in Florida. And they're the ones who loaned the money, as you see here, to this guy here who owned the property. This guy ceded the property to Dave Acevedo. Dave Acevedo ceded the property over to me. This is my given name. And they're showing here where I ceded the property to Bank of New York Mellon, but nowhere in here do you see Bank of New York Mellon as a prior owner of the property. Can't make this stuff up. So they're saying theoretically I own it, but we didn't put in his name. That's a damn lie because you see one of the records. And it would exist for any of them if we have it. But for the sake of expedience, I'm not going to get into that, but we can break it down some other time if anybody needs it or wants it. Or if you want me to send you some of these things, and if you happen to know anybody who lived in Hillsborough County during the mortgage foreclosure crisis that would have lost properties, I'm telling you, I just think that there was some sort of cabal to steal properties from owners of property in Hillsborough County, Florida, and probably all over the nation at the time. Hold on one second. Some of the best water in the world, but they're not paying me to advertise for them, but great water. So anyway, this is what was going on, people. So let me go ahead and get out of this from here. So at any rate, as you follow along, and we're back over here. So anyway, we didn't post the property in his name because we doubted he legally owned the property. Absolute lie. Just an absolute lie. And the fact that they would stoop so low to do such a thing is insane. And by the way, here, let me help you all out with this too, since we're on this subject. And this is actually going on, and I don't even have any idea that this is even a topic of conversation, because this is before they filed the official charges against me, criminal charges against me, to try to get me off the trail of what was going on. So let's go right here. There's the one we just saw. Now, right here, what you're going to see is the tax assessments. See that guy right there? Who owned the property, people? That's me. And again, for anybody out there who might be watching or trolling or whatever you want to call it, I'm fully transparent, because I believe that helps people get a good, clear idea of what's going on or what went on and how we got there. So anyway, I own that one. Let's go see this one right here. Which one is this one? This is for the property I owned, in Bloomingdale at which one is this one? This is, I own this in Clareside. This property is at Clareside in Bloomingdale Estate. See that 2534 Clareside Drive right there, people? See? As you see, this guy owned it, so did that person, this person lost it to Dave, Dave to me to Wells Fargo. Never brought me to court, people. I never went to court. But what's clear is I own the property. Even if they came in to divest me, I was entitled to due process, because you all can see what the property at one time was in my name. Another property, see that? And this is for the address. I think the address will be on here at, well, you can see it's in Bloomingdale Estates. Oh, right there. Clareside. See that? Second property. Keep on going down here. Let's look at this one here. And I appreciate you all staying with me, kind of allowing me to chronicle my journey as I get ready to start my book writing and get into more of these properties. I actually have a case in 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, but here you go, same thing, all the way up here. And it goes from him to me, and then back to this guy, which I don't even know action whatsoever, what have you, none, to divest me. And if nothing else, for those of you who understand property, and if there's any real estate people, please feel free to chime in the chat room. The question becomes, how did the properties get resold if I was never adequately or properly divested of the property? All the titles should be clouded. Somebody should have said, hey, we would like to sell this property, but Mr. Dawson's still in here. He has to be divested. This is why I've had issues. It's not about, and again, as you can see, these people don't care about me and child support. That's small fish to them. They're just use that as a distraction, some BS distraction, and we can get into that on the next episode of another one. I wanted to stick to this stuff here, so that if anybody has any friends or family members who may have lost their properties during this whole foreclosure thing, and I didn't own I'm not saying that I had the mortgage like the original people had a mortgage, but I did acquire them when the HOA made the sale. Banks have superior liens, and then the HOA's lien would be inferior. Not ever going to argue that. But what I'm arguing is that if the bank has a claim to the property, they have to come in and prove it. And it can't be done with just documents alone. You need a qualified witness, an evidentiary hearing in the process. And here's something else, people. If the owner of the property had what we call private mortgage insurance, what would have happened is once they crashed out the mortgage, if the bank or whoever the lender was filed a claim against the insurance, which we found out they all did, because remember, we didn't bail out the banks. We bailed out the insurance companies. The banks got their money. So the bank couldn't have gotten its money and kept the property. They don't have a claim to the property anymore. The most that the bank could have did was leaned up the property to keep me from selling it, claiming that, hey, the prior person owed us money, you didn't pay the money, so now we need you to pay the money, which would be the difference between whatever the insurance company paid us and whatever is owed. So let's say it's $1,000 and 80% was paid. Hey, you still owe $20,000 until we rectify the $20,000. You're not going to be able to sell the property. That's a different argument. And I would have just said, hey, that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the guy who owned the property. That ain't Greg. So, I'd have given one of them and let's go. But as you can see, and this has gone on. This is another property we have here. Which one is this one coming up? Yeah, Golden Sunrise. So they paid it on the back end after they took the property back into their name, which again, as you see, there was never there's no transaction that had me lose the property. None. Tuscany. Here's the crazy thing about this one as you follow through it as well. In this action for Tuscany, the lawsuit for foreclosure was filed after the statute of limitations had expired. And that's a facial flaw. So what I'm saying is, you have 5 years in Florida to file a foreclosure lawsuit. The bank has 5 years from the date of your last missed payment to file a lawsuit. Didn't happen in this case here. They filed it like 5 years and like 9 months later or something like that. So the entire issue with this one, the entire proceeding is void. And the question becomes, how did all this go on in Hillsborough County? Again, this one is paid in my name for that property. As you can see, clear as day, Brentwood Estate, Tuscany. See who owned the property. I'm not very creative, people. I don't sing or play instruments. I could dance, and I ran great routes and could catch a football and make people miss when I caught it. But so here we go. So now, as you all can see, this statement is cockamamie at this point. So let me talk to my deed department if you have a more narrow time period, if that makes sense, that we need to key in on the date. Now, this guy, again, William Shepard, I'm gonna bring these documents to the county commissioners meeting on Wednesday of this upcoming week to drag his ass. Will, thanks for information, nothing else. And he goes here, no. After our conversation about him, we searched our records and owned by the general scheme of the transactions Mr. Dawson is involved in is that he owns the property for a brief period of time and then sells and transfers the property to another individual entity. That's a fucking lie. That didn't happen. And the one parcel we have in his name from February 16th to present is located at Tuscany. Again, when other properties are only in his name for a short period of time, we do not have a deed transferring the property out of his name. Look at that. We do not have a deed transferring the property out of his name, but that is not to say that an unrecorded deed doesn't exist. This is conversation going on between Hillsborough County's property appraiser's attorney, the mayor at the time, Bob Buckhorn, who's actually running for mayor again, head of security, Mike Victor, and in between the minutia is the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office deputy. I forgot the guy. Actually, John Patrick McDarby. I sued his ass too, and Sheriff Chronister. So, Chronister, if you're looking at this shit, y'all owe me my money. You owe my properties and my money back. And by the way, people, all this is pre-pandemic, so we know what the accumulation of wealth would have been in those properties. And let's keep in mind, property correlates to wealth. And I could have done, forget what the actual face value of the properties would be today. How much money could I have made if I rented it out? I could have put these properties in a trust. That's generational wealth for my family. And plus, Greg would have never had to lift a finger to do anything else for the most part. Could have just managed these properties, use these properties to secure other properties. And by the way, that's what makes all this very interesting. So, and if you all go to the deed plat books and look it up and you follow it, you'll see the same thing. See, Will Shepard, General Counsel, property appraiser. But this same guy is dodging me when I'm looking for his ass. Yeah, I'll put it out here. So anyway, there you all go. So we can get out of this right here. So with that being a backdrop, then we have this. This is when they charged me with perjury in an official proceeding. And look at the claim. On this day, I made a false statement, which I did not believe to be true. I was indigent, did not own any real property under oath in an official proceeding regarding a material matter, because that's what the statute would call, contrary to the former statute in such cases made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state of Florida. And by the way, that's a felony. So the consequence of that felony is 5 years in the Florida state prison. So this is what I was up against. So then here comes my hands. I'm throwing hands now through the proceeding. And I'm asking for discovery. Don't get discovery. And as you can see right here, I'm disqualifying judges along the way. And again, I'm trying to get through this thing pretty quickly. It's not to bore anybody. So I'm disqualifying judges all along the way. And I want y'all to read that right there, because one of our circuit court judges is listed as a witness up for the state of Florida in the above referenced perjury case in which the defendant is self-represented. I don't know if that even matters. And by the way, look at the date on this right here. They filed the charges against me in, I think, was it June of 2017, or May in 2017. What's crazy is it shouldn't have taken them this long to realize that this stuff was going on. I'd already disqualified or had recused Judge Mark Kaiser. I had disqualified or recused Judge Mark Wolf, disqualified or recused Judge Christopher Nash, and Thomas Barber too. But by the time that Barber tried to bring me in there, you're going to see what happened. The chief judge of the Florida Supreme Court, the chief justice of the Florida Supreme Court, sent a visiting judge in from outside of Hillsborough County to preside over my case. I don't make this stuff up, people. So when people are trying to find ways to, and I guess it, imitation, they say, is the most sincere form of flattery, or trying to do whatever they're trying to do. Again, like I told y'all what LL said, and hey, write a song about your damn self, bro. And also DMX is then, it's kind of strange when a man is thinking about another man so much that he can't focus on what he has to do. But when you're a grifter and you're really not like that, I guess you have nothing better to do with your time. But anyway, this shows you that I am who I say I am. And I don't think I'm great. I'm just a guy who fought back. And I'd ask anybody out there, when have people who've made impacts not been targeted, particularly if you're not necessarily moving along with the city or moving along with the system, the way that the system thinks you should move along? But let's see. Let's do this right here. So let me give y'all something also before I get out of this as I'm going along. Remember, I mentioned some judges to you all. Now look at this, what's going on at the same time that I'm facing the prosecution. Ron Figueroa, who you just saw was the chief judge of the 13th Judicial Circuit at the time of Hillsborough County. Darren Fafarte, I had been in front of him one time before dealing with one of the child support cases. It might have been the case, the smaller case. Greg Holder, Kaiser, and Wolf. So these guys are traveling around doing events together. I shouldn't have had to disqualify them. In fact, I don't think it's unreasonable, and you all can chime in. I don't think it's unreasonable for me to have expected them to just recuse on their own, or for my entire action to have been moved outside of Hillsborough County. They could have just moved the whole case, which ultimately is what happened when they brought the judge in from somewhere else. They should have moved the entire case out of Hillsborough County. So this is what you all get to see is, well, what the hell is going on, Greg? What's going on in Hillsborough County? What's going on, Ron DeSantis? What's going on at the time? Pam Bondi would have been the attorney general. What's going on, Ashley Moody, who's now Senator Ashley Moody, who became the attorney general? How did all of this take place with this one guy, and nobody stepped in and said, "Hey, this just isn't right. This is not even legally cognizable that this could be going on." So, and then came the other distractions with so they tried to bring back support, but let's go and do this right here. That's so here it goes right here. So they're talking about the state of Florida. I had filed a motion for a statement of particulars. I had filed, they never gave me discovery, by the way, people. I filed discovery the moment the good Lord told me, and I do sincerely mean this. Hey, Greg, there's a warrant for you. That's how I found out about the warrant. I'm like, why would I have a warrant? Y'all might say my spidey sense tingled. I went and looked it up and said, God dang, I got a warrant for me. Go turn myself in, pay my bond, whatever, get out, start fighting the case. At the time, I had other cases in the Middle District of Florida because my civil rights, my fundamental rights have been violated. You took my property without due process, blah 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 blah. While I'm fighting this stuff comes up, and I'm looking at 5 years. Couldn't get attorneys to help me without some exorbitant amount of money. Um, I had to sit here and grind and fight it myself. Didn't tell my family, didn't tell my closest friends what I had going on because I had to try to figure out what was going on. And plus, I know candidly, and I would understand it. They'd probably say, "Hey, Greg, man, you don't want to do that, man. You might just want to plea out and just avoid the prison time." I'm like, no, I wasn't doing that. And interestingly enough, when the after this right here, and I want to go back to this. After this is done, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So you see here, I asked for all this other stuff, and this is what they claim they gave me. Also, they claimed they showed me this unredacted report that they listed the judge as a witness, which I didn't get the unredacted part in court. Amended list of witnesses, and then in order to properly respond to the statement of particulars in the Florida rules of criminal procedure, the state of Florida may not be able to state with particularity the certain information requested as written by the defendant in his motion. That would be me. Therefore, the state does not want any response to be incorrectly interpreted as a limitation of Dawson's criminal activity. What fucking criminal activity? Anyway, having provided this disclaimer, the state will attempt to provide details. They got the information, the perjury. Specifically, the information states that on this date, the defendant made a false statement that he was indigent and did not own any real property under oath in an official proceeding. In response to paragraph 1 of his motion, the state responds to this paragraph as follows. The clerk located on the first floor. I filed an application to determine civil indigent status. I'm going to look that up and show y'all. I think I have it somewhere in here. If not, we'll go right into the court records and pull it up. But the application for determination of civil indigent status doesn't ask that question. It doesn't ask, do you own any properties? It asks, do you have assets? And I'm going to find that. Let's see, application for indigent status, case number. Let me find this thing. But let's keep on reading here. In response, look, read number 5 for yourself. Forget what Greg may say. Look at that. Cannot adequately respond regarding the phrase "I'm indigent and don't own any property," as that specific wording is not included in the information or any of the discovery previously provided. The general response is, I was attested to that I didn't have an asset, not that I didn't own property. And we know that under Florida law, an asset that is encumbered by a lien is what the issue would be. I mean, a property encumbered by a lien is not your asset. Never at the question doesn't even show or ask, do you own any property? I thought I actually had that thing somewhere in here. I'll do this. I'll just go look it the hell up in another page while we're all looking at this. So here we go, people. Clear as day. For 7 months, while trying to get me to just plea out to something. And by the way, even had me wanted me to take a psychological evaluation for fighting back, which I'm like, pretty much gave them the middle finger, jackasses. With regards to not doing that for HIPAA violations and other reasons because it could be incriminating. So we ended up doing that, and then Judge Wolf summarily was he was disqualified. I filed writs of prohibition against him and a writ of prohibition and a motion to disqualify. He eventually disqualified. Let me tell you how this went. I had to sit in that damn courtroom for like 5 hours that day, or some crazy amount of time, while he went through everything, people. I mean, every goddamn thing. And as he went through everything, what he did was he had to step down, and he stepped off the bench and said, okay, that's the end of it. And that's how that ended up going out. I'm actually on another screen pulling the case up because for some reason, when I was doing this before and I had some of this up on YouTube, YouTube took it down. I never could quite understand that, why they did that. But they, and by the way, I did file several motions to intervene. There's a case management conference. I'm trying to find the application. Once Judge Holder tried to take the property, I filed a motion for, here, let me see. Let me take you out of this right here and we'll come back to the screen up here. So let me go ahead and file. There we go. So this is what I'm looking at. So it was January 31st, 2017. Application, here you go. I wonder why you all can't see that. Let me see. Yeah, okay, now I'm starting to figure this YouTube thing out now. It's not that bad. So here we go. So here's the application for determination of civil indigent status. That's me. It's a case that, not my case, it was Mike Wire, or the previous guy's case, but I helped in this case number. And by the way, they never allowed me to intervene, which is kind of crazy. So here it goes, all this stuff here. Nowhere on here, this is the question. Nowhere does it say property. And the question is, I have assets, and neither yes nor no, but zero. And by the way, people, look what the clerk did. And this, by the way, is not to get into this case. This is so that I could get my writ of prohibition heard by the 2nd District Court of Appeals. Nothing to do with the lower court case. And so there you go. And the clerk authorized the indigency. You see that, people? And all that is so that you don't have to pay the filing fee for the Court of Appeals. You see that, people? You see that? There you go. And so that was it, people. Can't not make this shit up. To this right here. And something else that I filed along the way. I want y'all to look at, let's see. Let me try it this way instead. That way you can see more of it at one time. And if you don't live in Hillsborough County, if your county doesn't have a way of checking the court's record that's this good, that's your fault. So I try to file all these filings to intervene, my motion to intervene, motion to stay rid of possession, all these things that I filed. And guess who the judge was, by the way? I'll let you see. You can probably guess. I tried to vacate. This is the one that started everything. And you can see by my writing, I wasn't nearly as proficient as I am now. I started using all this other stuff. But the bigger issue was Under Florida law, once you get rid of possession, you can file a motion to maintain possession of the property. I'm showing you all not the right thing. Here you go. And stuff that I would never do now. But the bigger thing is it was never heard. You see, and if you watch my writing, you'll see the involvement of my writing. So I was saying, hey, listen, you gotta let me. There you go. See that? That they had. I was trying to set aside the order because the backstory of this is the original uh set of attorneys that filed the foreclosure ended up filing bankruptcy and had to quit because their one of their partners was put in jail for embezzling funds. Later, what happened was another set of attorneys took over the case. Interestingly enough, they were never granted permission by the court to proceed. They just kept on going forward, and so through that, it kind of brought it up to where it was. So essentially, none of these attorneys ever had permission from the court to proceed in the case. And again, I'm just trying to get through this right here so I can hold. I want this for preserving posterity as to show what made me the target that I am, and I think you all are starting to put that together. Their issue with me is I know that there's a lot of people in high positions that were doing some very illegal activities, and which I won't say it wasn't my business. I didn't really care. I only care because you've taken my damn properties. But anyway, let's get back to the let me see the window. Right here. I was starting to pick this up pretty good. So now they did all this stuff and essentially just wanted to try to bundle something to get me to plea out, but never turned in any discovery. I never got discovery in this case. Never. Came to find out later on when I filed my lawsuit, they had over 7,000 emails that they never turned over during this case. The case eventually I won, as you're getting ready to see now. This is the Florida Supreme Court stepping in on my behalf. See, Jorge Lombarga as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Florida. He sends in Judge McGrady to hear my case. Judge McGrady, and by the way, you're here the lawyer in this damn thing. This guy says he gave me everything. Control F. Oh, come on. Everything was stayed. Actually, see where else gonna have everything. Everything kind of got put on hold. He essentially says he gave us everything had been provided except one document. Do say right there and told the judge a lie. Everything went ahead. You know how to use control F, people that showed you that word. So, and actually, here's the funny thing. Along the way, and every time I disqualified a judge, the prior judge, the new judge set aside the rulings of the other judge. So keep that in mind. If you ever disqualify a judge, you can depending on what the rules are in your state, you can go back and ask the new judge, hey, I want you to get rid of the other judge's orders, and let's start right here. You see everything was on hold by Nash. He ended up disqualifying. It came here, but eventually what happened was, this is the word that was. Let's see right here. We're combining the application with the pleading to establish the perjury. But the perjury has to have the specific elements in order for it to even be a charge. You see, the judge asked him, how did we get to a felony? Well, the state's position is that we are combining the application that you all just saw with the pleading, which I don't even know what pleading he's talking about, to establish perjury. And by the way, perjury is whoever makes a false statement whoever makes a statement that he or she does not believe to be true under oath in official proceeding in regard to material matter commits perjury. You saw that already. None of that ever happened because I was never involved in any of these cases. I was never allowed to intervene. So for the knuckleheads who don't have the ability to just go in and do research, if somebody says something, me destroying the Department of Revenue and child support hearings, and that you all can go to my page and watch those interactions and see, damn, they haven't even given this guy a real ruling on anything. If you learn to fight back, people, that's how you get change. Not running your mouth, not redacting documents, showing people so that they have a good context as to what's going on. So if they want to ask you a question, they have an idea why they're asking. Hey, Greg, how did they get the felony? And look at what Mr. Doss says when this is the state's attorney. You can't do that. Objection. Definitely can't do that. Well, that's their theory. I said, okay, well, I'm not. Well, that's their theory. Okay. So then they had to prove it. But this is what happened at the end of everything. People, case was dismissed. I just whipped 3 different assistant state attorneys' asses in court proceedings. And I'm not suggesting anybody do that. I think everybody should get an attorney to fight your battles. This is why the state of Florida has a problem with me. Are they upset with me about what I've been able to do with the child support stuff? And that might be part of it, but the bigger part is I think they're more upset with me helping and showing people how to read, which is what I used to do when I tutored. I worked in the school system of Hillsborough and Leon County. That's what their issue is. I try to help people gain a better grasp of issues in front of them. I don't give legal advice. I don't even pretend to. I think we should all be able to go find us an attorney somewhere. I don't even get into that. I say nothing disparaging about attorneys. The problem with me is I become so proficient because they remember me when I was around here claiming that I wouldn't say I was claiming I was what you would consider not a package boy, but I was running to see these guys before they called them gurus. They were conscious people and some other kinds of names, and he's an expert at this and that and the other. What I learned is by watching these people, hey, you guys don't have any damn proof of anything. You talk a good game. Show me something. And I've also watched a couple guys in court get their doors blowed. So I was like, well, I ain't going to follow this guy. And what does the Bible say about the blind leading the blind? You both end up in the damn ditch. So hopefully we chopped it up. This is just the first episode. So you all have an idea. We're going to keep on chronicling it moving forward. I'll go from this and then we'll go back to I'll talk about the child support issues. I'll talk about some things that I guess people in other areas don't quite understand. And I don't want to say that some of these so-called gurus like to go after low-hanging fruit. I'll just say that some of these gurus like to go after low-hanging fruit, people that may be low information people. And I hope they don't take it as a slight. It may come across condescending. It's not to come across condescendingly. It's to come across to let you know that people may talk real good and not really be like that. Kind of like certain rappers we found out that talked about that gangster lifestyle, and you found this joker lives some kind of posh life his whole life. He's just capable of singing or rapping or doing whatever he does. I would say this to everybody because that's what I'm doing. And by the way, I hope you like this video. You find this information, if nothing else, intriguing enough to text school to 813-570-9617. Yes, that is my phone number. Or email, what have you. Become a member here. Let's build a community so that we can get back our nation, get back our governments, because they are our governments. We just happen to elect people for short periods of time to hopefully operate in our best interest. I think what has happened is too many people have not taken civics as seriously as you should have. And I know you all learned it in school. Now, I might be 57 and Laura will not be 58 in March. I know you all learned because I know I taught some blocks of instructions on civics, and I learned civics starting in the 5th grade. And by the way, people, I got my formative education in Biloxi, Mississippi, on the plantation grounds of the president of the Confederacy, one Jefferson Davis. So don't tell me you don't know this stuff. And stop listening to bozos telling you not to participate in the process, because not participating in the process is going to have a lot of people hurting. And a lot of people are hurting because of that. So I'm going to get off my civic soapbox because that's not the reason for this particular video. Beyond just getting out some stuff for you all to take a look at, you can help a lot more people learn a little bit more about me. And by the way, I appreciate the interest in the channel. I'm here to help build a community. It's not about making money necessarily. It's not about clout and all that other foolishness. I want people to be better at what we need to be doing than I ever could be. I have a lot more in my review than I have down the road. I have children. I have grandchildren. I want to see a good world for them because that's what we owe them. Somebody set it in place for me, and I want to help set it in place for them. Uh, me, my parents are both retired military. I have had a pretty good life. My brother's a professor. Things are good. I actually have a daughter who's a doctor. Um, but information, as Frederick Douglass said, knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. But he also said that an ignorant populace is an easily duped populace. And I say, and manipulated. If you don't know, you can be taken advantage of. Stop ear hustling and trying to memorize, because even a parrot can't give you a coherent sentence. He can mimic what he hears. And too often going on out here, people are mimicking shit because it sounds good. Let's get away from that. Let's become an informed populace and help build communities around the nation to do the right thing by the people. That being said, sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More importantly, it's about clarity. You'll never reach resolution if you're not willing to engage in honest dialogue, even if that dialogue is with yourself. Take time to hug the person you love and love the person you hug. On behalf of GD Non-Attorney Pro Se Consultants, I'm Greg Doss. I am the infamous DJ Squid as well. I'm rough on Chop Shops. Check out Chop Shops Monday at 6:30 on the Chop Shop Show here on YouTube. And then coming soon, we're going to have Chop Shop Talks music. So we're gonna get back into some old school music and talk about, and we're gonna bring it from I guess the 60s all the way through today. Me, my man Heavy, my boy Wild Dizzy. And with that being said, peace and chicken grease. I am out.